Hello everybody! Welcome back to Ruesday Tuesday. I am RuthAnn Thompson, one of the partners at GeekChic Promotions, and today what I really wanted to talk about is, Star Trek Discovery. So we finally had the first season, we just had the season finale, which if you guys watched it, I really want to know what you think, because I thought it was great. I was super... As you all know, if you go back and watch other Ruesday Tuesdays when I talk about Star Trek Discovery, and the Orville, I was a little down on Star Trek Discovery, but I feel like this whole, the last few episodes has really helped me to like it again, and I'm upset that we're not going to get it again until, was it 2019, I believe? It's going to be a while before we get any answers. But all right, let me share this around so we can all discuss this at the same time, because I am super stoked to discuss it with all of you. But yes, oh perfect. All right, so we have it. Let me just share it everywhere. Again, hope everybody's had an awesome last couple days. I know I've been kind of not as talkative with everybody and doing as many videos because I've been dealing with this whole neck thing and my accident, so it's been doing a lot better. Thank you for everybody that's been checking in on me and all that. Hello Brandon Allen, thanks for joining. Yeah, because I believe you're all caught up with Star Trek Discovery, because I feel like we've talked about this before. And Walter Barker, hello, welcome to Ruesday Tuesday. So excited. Okay, let me share this one other place so that I can get everybody involved that I can to discuss Discovery. Okay, all right, here we go. Let me just one more. Share that stuff. All right, let me make sure that I shared it all on the right stuff. Okay, cool. Hi everybody. Okay, so I'll kind of start from the beginning of Star Trek Discovery, because this whole thing has been kind of a drama in the Star Trek fandom community. So we started off in a very, very dark universe that it didn't feel very Star Trek, and I have discussed this on length before. My biggest problems with it is, again, it didn't feel like Star Trek. Nobody was really adhering to any of the Star Trek rules, I guess is the best way to put it. Even in the storytelling of it, it just didn't seem to fit. The Klingons, I absolutely hated their design and nearly everything about the Klingons. And to me, there was a lot of aggressive foreshadowing that I've kind of figured out everything that did happen. So yay for me being right, but it was a little frustrating because I wanted to move on. Hello, Brandon Allen. He says, it's not cut up at all. I'm a brown coat, not a Trekkie. That's fair. I will take that. Firefly, I will take that. Maybe I'll do a Ruesday Tuesday about Firefly, and then we can go into deep discussion, because I do love that show. So I'm not going to spoil anything for you, so it's great. But yeah, Star Trek Discovery, I was really not on board with. I think it took about until episode 6 or 7 for me to go, okay, okay, I'm listening. So for those that haven't seen the show and are curious about it, because the other thing that's been a drama about watching the show is you can only watch it on CBS All Access. So you basically have to pay another, was it $6 a month or $10 a month with no commercials, just so you can watch this one show. Because there's nothing, I mean, no offense CBS, but there's nothing else that we're gonna watch on your All Access channel. I'm sorry. So to be legit, I have canceled my Star Trek or my CBS All Access subscription. Not gonna lie. So this whole thing has been taking place in the Pike years. So basically, Star Trek, the original, we started off with a one episode of Pike, and then there was kind of a 5-year gap before the next episode, which was Captain Kirk. Now, I am a little wishy-washy because I have not rewatched all of the original Star Trek since I was a little girl, so for anybody that can kind of fill in details for me, appreciate you, but I'm definitely going to go back and rewatch that now that we have such a long gap between the next season of Star Trek Discovery. So it's supposed to take place in those years during the Klingon War, and it goes right into it. But to me, the things that are obvious, and again, I'm sorry if I spoil stuff for you guys, but it just seemed like it was obvious. It was obvious to me. Wait, before I say that, let me read what Brandon has to say. Okay, so Brandon, he said he tried to watch the first episode when they aired on CBS, and the ending was cut off because it started late. Oh, really? So you couldn't even... Oh, CBS, get your stuff together. You shouldn't be like posting something like that on your actual television. Aw. Gary says, Pike's only episode as captain of the Enterprise takes place the year before Discovery. Okay, thank you. Because I know that there's the one and only episode of Pike, which, you know, is just a fun nerd thing to know. Oh, and Brandon says he DVR'd it. That's why I cut off. All right, fair enough. So, when we get right into it, there's some things you can tell right away. Like, to me, it was fairly obvious between episode 1 and episode 2 that our captain is from the Mirror Universe. There was way too many, like, foreshadowing and hints. I mean, like, literally, I think it's the first episode, you see him looking at his reflection and talking about stuff. It felt a little obvious to me. Maybe it wasn't to everybody else. You know, maybe new fans of Star Trek were just like, very impressed by this whole thing because they don't know about the Mirror Universe, haven't watched any other Star Trek. Fair enough. The other thing that was obvious as soon as we met this one character that shows up in a cell on a Klingon ship is that, and he ends up on Discovery, is that he was a Klingon that was like modified with lots of surgery to be a human. I mean, I figured that out pretty quickly. There was a lot of very aggressive hints on that front. And to go back to our captain being from the Mirror Universe, he was trying to get back to the Mirror Universe, and that's why he was very aggressive with using the spore drive and kept talking about wanting to go home. So all that came to fruition. But luckily, we had kind of 3 episodes that were, to me, like finally something interesting and different happening. Because we went, so right before the winter break, we were cut off, and it looked like we just ended up in the Mirror Universe, and then it looked like it, and I was right, and I was very excited. Like, that was a very good cliffhanger. And then when we started after the winter break, it goes right into it, and now we're in the Mirror Universe and dealing with everything there. We did still have to wait for some of the, like, other shoes to drop with the things that maybe it was, if you want to call it fan theory, fine. But I was right, so there. But it actually worked out. Gary Scullion says, sorry, 2 years, my math was slightly off. Thanks. Thank you, Gary, for adjusting that. I was going to be very upset if I was walking around telling people the wrong thing. So what he's referring to is that Pike's only episode as captain of the Enterprise takes place 2 years before Discovery. I believe it's what you're saying, Gary. So thank you for correcting yourself. So we had all these great episodes in the Mirror Universe and dealing with the Terrans, which are these awful versions of humans, and like everything is topsy-turvy because it's the Mirror Universe, yay! But okay, so let's get into this season finale because I wasn't sure where we're going. So in the Mirror Universe, one of the topsy-turvy Mirror Universe people is that we have our favorite captain who was killed off in like the second episode of this. She's in the Mirror Universe, and she's the evil emperor. What? And she gets stolen by Michael Burnham because she feels guilty for being responsible for her actual captain's death. Yada yada yada. So we're dealing with her that they're trying to have this mission to go to Kronos, the Klingons' homeworld, to solve the problem. Because when they came back from the Mirror Universe to our universe, they overshot. And they actually they went 9 months into the future, and the Klingons have been winning. This is another moment that I really do want to go back and rewatch all of the original Star Trek to really see if that makes sense of the Klingon War, that like the Klingon War, they were winning, because it doesn't seem like, to me, it didn't seem like we lost that as much as Discovery showed us that we lost. I don't know, just me. And let me know if I'm totally bowing here, because I'm really excited to talk about this. All right, Brandon says, the Mirror Universe is the goatee universe, right? Yes. That's an excellent way of describing it, because that's basically how everybody remembers it, because there was one episode, and again, I haven't rewatched it since a kid, but in the original Star Trek, when they ended up in the Mirror Universe or meeting Mirror Universe characters, how they made them evil was giving them like a little mustache and like a goatee or whatever. So that's, I mean, I feel like that trope was used before, but that's one of the originating tropes of like, your evil twin has like a mustache and a goatee. Gary Scullion says, also, as a hopeful cameo in season 2, if you see the Farragut, Kirk was the just made lieutenant in the same year and served on this ship before taking command. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on. Before taking command of the Enterprise 2265, currently 2257. Well done. Gary also says, well, only Spock had the beard or the goatee, whatever, for being the evil version, to be fair. Okay. Hence his mirror father has one as a nod. Yeah, that was kind of, I did notice that. I did like that. So, but, okay. All right. Sorry to kind of go back. But that actually, Gary, that brings up something that really kind of peeved me about, because there are still things that peeved me, of course, in the last few episodes of Discovery. So, everybody in the Mirror Universe is supposed to be a completely different, like literally flipped personality, everything of this universe's counterpart, right? So Spock's dad, there was the little nod because he had the little goatee, but Spock's dad was exactly the same. Like, he was a peace-loving, like, good guy in the Mirror Universe. That was a little frustrating for me. I mean, I don't really think we needed to have him. We could have had any other Vulcan. I felt like it was a little pushed because we kept running into absolutely everybody that we knew from this universe, but that's just me being picky. Just saying, like, if everybody's gonna be flipped, like, actually make them flip different personality. Just saying. Okay, so now we have this whole new plan, because we're 9 months in the future of this war with the Klingons. The Klingons are winning, and they come up with this plan using the very evil version of our past captain. I'm blanking on her name now, so I'm just gonna keep going. To come up with a plan to basically be prepared to destroy Kronos so that they can use it as a bargaining chip to get all of the Klingons back and to end this war. It gets a little flimsy here and there, but I did like how it went. Dylan also says, I like that they kept the goatee trope going. Yeah, I did like that they kept the goatee trope going. I was just hoping that his personality would be a little less like Spock's dad. Gary also says, well, the idea is Vulcans were always the same, just humans became evil. It was a more mirror of the Federation than all races. Okay, thank you for correcting me. Like I said, I need to rewatch all of the original Star Trek. Maybe I'll just do a whole Tuesday just on that, because I just love nerding out with you guys. So, they use this crazy spore drive to be able to get into the planet of Kronos, because there's a ton of huge empty caves that the Discovery just happens to be able to fit in. How convenient. No, just kidding. And it works out great. He's able to get in there. Woo! And now the whole thing is that they have to find, supposedly all of the volcanoes across Kronos are dormant. And what they're going to do is use all of the volcanoes, I was about to say tubing, that's not the right word, but all of like the caves and all that stuff to map out all of Kronos, so they'll be prepared if they need to do something and show that they can destroy all of Kronos or whatever. So, surprise, surprise, our evil counterpart captain flips the switch, and actually all the volcanoes are actually active, and she's actually not planting a sensor, she's planting a bomb to blow up the entire system, so all of the volcanoes explode and everything on Kronos is destroyed. They figure it out. They figure out how to have that not happen. Dylan also says it made sense based on the Mirror Universe books and whatnot. I can send you a link later if you want the Mirror Universe's amazing lore. All right, Dylan, I'll totally take the more nerd stuff I can read and watch, the better. I never got into Star Trek books. Like, I grew up on Star Trek, Star Wars, My brother read the Star Wars books, maybe Star Trek books, but I never got into the books, so maybe that's something I need to try, as long as it's not just like straight up fan fiction, because everything has to be canon with me. So they come up with a plan, so I'm not spoiling everything for you guys so you can actually watch it, but they come up with a plan that not only saves Kronos, but they use their one last Klingon prisoner she uses it to unify the Klingons, and it ends the war. To me, it felt a little rushed, but, you know, it's the last episode. They gotta kind of fill that all in. Now, what really exciting that happened at the very end of the episode, and you've probably seen spoilers of this online, and it's not really going to change anything if I tell you this now, so if you really want nothing spoiled, you can not listen to this last part, but everybody kind of knows, and it's really exciting. I feel like I usually can't stand cliffhangers. Like, they enraged me so much, but this flavor of cliffhanger I really enjoy, because it doesn't tell you anything, but it gets you really stoked for the next season. What I liked is, you know, the succinct way that they brought stuff together, and it was some parts of it felt a little rushed, and I liked the character development. I liked that Michael Burnham started out with thinking that, you know, anything is worth their survival, but ending up that, you know, honor and the Federation way is more important than survival, which ended up saving everybody. Yay! I like that now. I was glad that all of my theories were correct, but to me, I just kind of knew those were going to be correct, so I'm glad that all of those were, like, succinctly brought to a close, and now we have this very interesting crew, and we're on the way to get their new captain, and they run into a Starfleet ship that's calling for help, and it's the U.S. Enterprise, and it's Pike. It's so exciting. So that's literally how it ends. Like, you don't see Pike, there's no, like, other communication other than, like, they come out of warp, and you see, like, the original Star Trek Enterprise, and it's so exciting, guys. I'm so excited to have Pike, and that's one thing that Gary mentioned before, is that you can have some crossover stuff with Kirk and all that, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited because, you know, we didn't get much of Pike. We only got Pike for one episode in the original series, so there's so much you can do with him. They also, like, brought together the thing of they're no longer going to use the spore drive, so now that explains why it's not in the original series at all, because until they can find a non-human interface, they're not going to use it anymore. So it's like, okay, that's a kind of a weak excuse, but I'll take it. Gary says, I hope we get to see Pike and Spock. Yes, I hope the same thing. I honestly think we can play with the canon, because it's never really given on screen, but why not make Pike the new captain? We got to build up the lore of a character who has only really had one failed pilot true episode as the heroic character, ignoring the J.J. Abrams one. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the other thing, is that we know that this series is not connected to the J.J. Abrams universe whatsoever, so that's fine by me. And overall, Dylan also says, yay for Pike, yay for Pike! I completely agree with what Gary says, is that we haven't gotten that much of Pike, so as much of a true canon nerd as I am, I'm fine with that. I honestly feel like this whole series for me was growing me as a Trekkie, because I was so aggressively like, no, this is not Star Trek, grr! But now I've kind of changed my mind. Dylan says Pike was in the Menagerie. Yes, he was. Brandon also said, it's not the U.S., it's the USS. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me. I get very excited and I leave off letters or numbers sometimes. That's the only thing that I'm not great at when it comes to, especially Star Trek, is remembering, like, USS, whatever, 17, all the names of the ships. Like, I can tell you which ones I really liked, but I can't remember. I'm very bad with memorization. But NCC is 1701. Thank you. Everybody's correcting me. I love you, nerds. You're the best. Thank you, Dylan. So to me, I don't know for you guys who did watch this series, this was a big growing curve for me as a Star Trek nerd, because it does need to be a new story. it does need to be something new. And I agree with the fact that we couldn't do anything past Voyager because everything's kind of been done. Like, everything's kind of been figured out. So I do like the idea. Like, I understand the reasoning of going back in time and doing those, like, unexplored couple of years. I think that was a good idea. I was very frustrated at first with the style and just the way the story is told is so different from the original Star Trek as well as the Next Generation. But you know, we need something new. We can't go back and do the same thing, because I'm sure I would be just as frustrated if they or even more frustrated if they tried to attempt to be exactly the Star Trek that I know and love, and because they wouldn't be able to do it. Like, it's just not possible. And I feel like almost Orville kind of takes that flavor, takes care of that for us. But to be canon Star Trek, I do like what Discovery is doing. As much as there was some tropes that really peeved me, there's some lazy writing to make it so, like some of those foreshadowing things I told you about, and plot twists, which we all saw coming, to make sure that those still worked. There was a lot of lazy writing and lazy excuses. So to me, like, but it's, you know, it's a first season. They've got a lot of work to do, and that's fine. Let's see. Dylan says he's, oh wait, going back a little bit. Dylan says, Origin and the end of Borg, for example. Yes, you are correct. He's given me a reading list. I appreciate you, Dylan. Gary also says it's great playground, because if it's not on screen and it's not set in stone canon, yeah. So it's fun. Like, as a Star Trek nerd, I've been thoroughly, like, it's, you know what's interesting is I feel like as a nerd we kind of like being frustrated. Like, to be honest, like, I mean, GeekChic Promotions, we do an entire show called Nerd Rage, because there's something that we love about discussing it and getting so deep and aggressive about our love and passion for something. So in some ways I feel like it's opened up Star Trek discussions that haven't happened in like 20 years. So it's been really fun for that, for sure. Dylan says nerd rage. Yeah, I had a lot of nerd rage about this show. I still do. Like, there's that. I will never forgive them for what they did to the Klingons. Period. They made them super weak. They made them look ridiculous. Their weapons are terrible, and they're nothing like the original. But I understand that every, you know, series has to have their one, like, this is their version of this. This is their, like, costuming for this, because nobody working on that show probably wanted to just do paste and copy, like, all of the different designs from the original or from Next Generation. So I understand that, and Dylan agrees with me. Thank you. So to me, like, I liked it. I would say, like, this is CBS All Access, sorry. But my suggestion is, if you haven't watched it, just to get CBS All Access, I think it's even, like, free for the first, like, week or two or something like that. Get it. Blow through the entire series, because it's not that many episodes. I mean, they are an hour long, but just blow through it and then cancel it again, because unfortunately we aren't getting another season. They have been greenlit for the second season, but we're not getting a second season until, I think they were saying, maybe like fall of 2019. So it's going to be a minute. Gary also says, well, if Ash is now used as the tool to mutate them, he was an experiment used. He was an experience they'd never done before. I mean, they already covered the look change in Enterprise, which is canon. Yeah. That is a question, actually, that I have. If Ash, the Klingon that was made to look human and then given, like, a human psyche, if he's going to come back in the next series, I kind of don't think so. That's my theory, and if he does, it's not going to be until, like, later on in the season, because he goes with the other Klingon who unifies all of the Klingon race. So I don't think we're gonna see him. I think he's gonna come back as maybe a button to just really, like, push Michael Burnham, because they had such a deep connection and a love for each other. If anything, terrible writing would have it be, as soon as Michael Burnham was over him and or like in a relationship, all of a sudden Mr. Klingon, not Klingon, will show back up. That's just my theory. Dylan says, yeah, I binge watched it all over a few days. Yeah, it doesn't take that long to binge watch, and as most nerds like us, we can binge watch pretty easily. It doesn't take much. Gary says, I think they'll force him back because he was a damn good actor. Was he? I don't know. I guess he was okay. I think I was too distracted by his neck beard. I needed him to shave that. Just anything. Just anything. Like, sorry, it was really distracting for me. Neck beards in general, like, just just shave it. Everybody else has their hair trimmed. You can at least just, like, even if it's just a, 5 o'clock shadow, fine, but it was just so, bleh. Yeah, I guess that's personal preference. But anyways, but yeah, there's so many things that they can do in this next season, and so I've kind of forgiven the problems that they had with season 1, because I'm so excited with all the potential that they have for season 2. Dylan says, yes, I thought I was the only one distracted by lack of shaving. Thank you! It was so distracting! It was just, okay, anyways. The Ash's stuff, it was too much. I can't, it was too much. But, I thought his acting was good. I feel like, my favorite characters, I'm gonna be real, by the end, Burnham was one of my favorites. I apologize because, again, my memorization skills are terrible, so names of characters aren't, like, on the top of my head. The scientist who ended up being the Spore Drive guy, his character growth, I really enjoyed. I thought he was an incredible actor. His doctor husband, who I absolutely adored, and there can be ways I feel like that he can come back, since he's kind of in the Spore universe, whatever that's called, the Spore Drive, like in that universe. So I have a feeling that's going to come back a little bit for just for the scientist. Jason says, whose neckbeard are we talking about? Oh, Jason, we're talking about the Ash character, the guy who was the Klingon, who was Volk, who's then turned into a human, which, whenever he speaks Klingon, it's interesting because of the Klingon makeup that's so terrible, and I mean the prosthetic thing and the teeth that make it really hard to talk, I feel like the Klingon language changed a little bit. And when Vox, character that was turned into a human, when the human actor was trying to do the Klingon language, or like whenever he tried to speak the Klingon language, it felt like he was trying to like impersonate the face and tooth thing. But maybe that was just me. But yeah, that's the neckbeard that we're talking about that was really distracting. Yes, Gary says Saru for life. Yeah, he's amazing. Dylan says, I want to know why they made mirror humans have light sensitivity that breaks canon in such a huge way. I agree. I think it was just, honestly, again, I feel like it was lazy writing to make an excuse. Because if we remember, and this is one of the reasons that I thought he was from the mirror universe like right away, is that the captain kept having everybody turned on. So, okay, I think it's two terrible, like, cheap writing tricks, right? Because obviously the way that they have to make this set look cannot look like the 60s set. Like, it just can't. That would look so cheesy and campy. So one of the ways they dealt with it is they did the very minimal, like, structure of the ship, but then made everything so dark. Like, it was, like, the lighting, like, literally just everything was so dark that I feel like they needed to make an excuse of why it was so dark, and so they made it that the captain, he supposedly got an injury to his eyes but doesn't want to get new eyes, and so his eyes were very sensitive to light. So I completely agree with you, Dylan. I feel like that broke canon. That was another example of kind of lazy writing so that they could do two things of making the ship, an excuse of making the ship like literally darker, and B, to have it that it was another foreshadowing that he was from the mirror universe. Like, ooh. So, yeah, so other characters I loved. Tilly, I kind of went back and forth with Tilly. Because I felt like she was a little too awkward. Like, I felt like it was pushed and forced a little bit too much. But the actress was so good and so sweet and lovable that, like, you couldn't help but kind of adore her. And she definitely had some growth as well. I really liked her Mirror Universe version of her, which was Killy, and she was like an evil, tyrannical like captain, which is great. I thought that was one of the Mirror Universe things that I did like. But just in general, like I fell in with the crew that we still have left. I like them now. Like good job. You got me on board, Discovery. So thank you all so much for discussing. Oh, and Jason also says, almost too meek. Yeah, thank you for agreeing with me with Tilly's character. Like, it was just a little too much. And she was also the one that dropped the F-bomb, which felt so out of place. And then, like, to have the scientist officer, like, repeat it back to her, it was... I don't know. I don't know if anybody else was thrown off by that. I was. But again, I think that was when I was very focused on this not feeling like a Star Trek show to me. And now it does. It's a very different flavor of Star Trek, but I'm on board. So hopefully, like, we're going to get everything that we hope for in the next season. There's a lot of potential. The one thing I am glad about them taking such a long break is that it shows that they're dedicated to really writing it and, like, you know, not just doing sloppy, fast writing and character development, all that kind of stuff. So I'm glad they're taking the time to really, like, work on the next season because it has a great potential. Dylan says, oh yeah, Jason said, love Mira Tilly though. I totally agree. Dylan says, mind you, Trek movies and books use strong language. No, that is fair. They do. It just, I don't know if anybody else was just like, I don't know, just having the F-bomb like all of a sudden, because I think that was the same episode where they brought up like the fact when we thought Ash was human that he was raped by his Klingon captor, and it felt very forced dark, like it was like, we're gonna really try to be like Game of Thrones, like I don't know, like and it was the same episode that they dropped the F-bomb, and I was just like, it was just a little off-putting. But I agree that there was, you know, obviously cursing in the future, obviously. Gary says, apparently the eye things is also a science thing, that brightness sensitivity adds to more aggression and headaches, etc. So violent tendencies that may have been an afterthought, but it kind of dig it. Okay, that's fine. Though, as somebody who is very sensitive to light, I'm like, really? Does that make me more aggressive? I'm gonna have to look into that, because I hope that doesn't make me more aggressive, because I'm very delicate when it comes to, like, light. And Dylan agrees with me that it was a little off-putting, like that whole, I don't know, the cursing and the rape, and I don't know, it's just a little like, I just doesn't feel right in this context, but of course all those things happen in the future, we know that. But thank you guys so much for diving into this, but all in all, I suggest binge watching the show, and I'm excited for the next season. Thank you for joining me for Ruse Day Tuesday. I'll be back on Saturday with the rest of the Geek Chic team to do our usual weekend Rager Nerd Rage, so be on top for that. For anybody wondering or anybody going to any conventions, it's convention season, huzzah! So the soonest you'll see both me and Chris is going to be at the Comic-Con Revolution in West Palm Beach, Florida on February 24th. Then you will see us at Emerald City Comic-Con. We won't be doing any Geek Chic stuff there, but we will be there. And then we'll also be doing a Nerd Rage panel at WonderCon, so we'll be posting all about that soon. Very excited about that. We'll be talking about Superman with Mark Waid. Super stoked. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you Saturday, and for Ruse Day Tuesday, I'll see you next week. Make it so.